Hello everyone, my name is Jen and welcome to the Book Refuge. Hello everyone, welcome to another weekly wrap up. I think we're on week 26. I always say that and then I'm always off by some week, but I'll have put it out there which week it is. I just got back from a few days staying with my sister and the girls. We went to the zoo. It was so much fun. I did still get a good amount of books read. I was worried that I wouldn't, and you know, I'm always behind on something, but I got through a good amount of books. There were some good ones. There was some so-so ones. I reread a couple of favorites. I'm covered in bug bites. Oh, dang it. I'm all itchy. That's a bummer. So we're going to get into those. And then, let's see. What do we have? We have 3 new patrons to welcome to the channel. And I am just so grateful. Honestly, you guys have no idea what it means that you continue to, like, new people continue to support me, as well as people who've been here for literal years now. I'm just always so humbled by it. Like, I'll never stop being humbled by it. So we have Michaela. I think that's how you say your name, but if it's not, I'm sorry, dear. You'll have to let me know. We have Narubuni. Again, I hope I pronounced your name right. She sent me some very sweet messages. Thank you so much for the very lovely message you sent me the other day. You made me smile. And then we have another Megan L. I love welcoming the Megans in, Megan. Just so you know, I think there's maybe 5 Megans who are patrons. So y'all, apparently the Megans just flocked to me. I don't know what it is, but I love you. Thank you so much for supporting me here. It means the world to me. I am a full-time creator, reviewer, booktuber, so every little bit does help keep it going. YouTube has started to get a little bit stricter with me. I may need to start being a little more careful with how I talk. We'll see. You know, but I can't really blame them. When I put up videos that are labeled butt stuff, you know, what do I expect YouTube to do? It's all right. I'm resigned to it. In fact, I'm surprised I've gotten away with it for so many years. But that means your support is what keeps the lights on, literally, here for me. Okie doke. Set that over there so it doesn't fall down. Let us get into the books we have. So the first one, I don't have too much to say about it because it was actually the Patreon exclusive read. So every month I read a book that is voted on by my patrons based on like a trope that we pick. This month we picked, this month we picked Bodyguard, and Thorn Princess by L.J. Shen was picked. I definitely had some mixed feelings for this one, but what I do is I read the book, I annotate it, then I do an exclusive review, which at this point there are 25 exclusive reviews on my Patreon, which is, you know, as soon as you sign up for that, those are available to you. But then also everyone who wants a chance to win the book that I annotated, they have a chance to enter to do that. So that's been fun. Every book that I've annotated for Patreon has went to someone's home, which is very exciting. So yeah, had a lot of mixed thoughts about that one. Then I had taken a few books in the Stuff Your Kindle Day. I know we all, you know, like to grab up some books from that, and I tried to be a good girl and not to take too many this time. So what I did do is I put in a couple of keywords for some specific type of books. I looked at which mafia ones were available, and I also looked which MMF ones were available, because I was still in a bit of an MMF mood after a couple books I read earlier this month. I wanted to read more, and so I ended up getting Winter's List by Jordan Cross. Had never heard of this author before, but this one sounded kind of interesting, and so I snagged it. And this one is about Melissa Winters, her name, who goes on a vacation that I think was supposed to be, it was either supposed to be her honeymoon or it was supposed to be just a trip with her partner. I can't fully remember, and I'll tell you why in a minute. And then she runs into these 2 friends there whose names are Ed and Jack, and they've been longtime friends for a while. One of them actually has a crush on the other one, but but there's never been anything more than them, like, they have like shared a girl before, but they haven't done any of the sword crossing. And Winter kind of brings them together because Winter, she ends up making a list of all of these sexy things she wants to try now that she's free from, you know, her partner. And they include things that have to do with threesome-wise, and so that gets them all experimenting. I have to say, like, it started out fun, and then there was a suspense element to this plot. And it did not need one. Come on, we knew what we were here for with this. And the suspense plot thrown in just like, I don't know, it made this book ridiculous to me when it was already a bit of a stretch with what the setup is. So sadly, I ended up giving this one 3 stars. It was pretty spicy. It had some good fun times, but yeah, what was I? Sorry, I was talking and I got distracted by this. The aspect of the suspense, I was like, no, thank you. Okay, next up, I had an ALC, an advanced listening copy of The CEO Enemy by Jolie Day. So this ebook is already out on Kindle. The audiobook isn't quite out yet. That will be coming soon. Yeah, this one is a woman named Jess, and she co-owns a hotel with this elderly gentleman. They've been business partners for a while, and he decides he's ready to retire. He wants to, you know, devote more time to his wife and, you know, get some of the years back. Not get the years back. You can't get the years back, but spend some of his retirement not working. Okay, so he sells his half of the business to this hotel conglomerate that wants to basically, you know, swallow up smaller hotels to add to their empire, right? And the plan is we send in Sean, who is the son of the owner of this big company, and he has bought that half of the business, but he also is supposed to buy out the other partner, which is Jess, because they want to take over the whole place. And she isn't willing to do that so easily. And our hero, Sean, has a lot of pressure coming from his dad and the company board to get him to push her out. But again, she's not going to go too easily. Now, the other aspect of this is he's actually her next door neighbor. He has bought the like condo or apartment like next to hers for now. And so their first meeting they actually have is when she is only wrapped in a towel and she locks herself out of her apartment. And so instead of having to call the super, she knocks on his door. He happens to be naked for reasons, and she asks if she can go from his balcony to her balcony so that she, you know, doesn't need a key. And he's like, that sounds horribly dangerous. And she's like, no, it's fine, it's fine. And so she does it, and when she climbs over, she loses her towel. So now they're both naked and they've seen each other. And then when she goes to work to meet the man who bought out her partner, it's this man that she's seen naked. Don't we just love that? So this was very cute. This was narrated in the duet style by Jacob Morgan and Andy Arndt. It was really lovely. I was listening to this while I was actually building a Lego roller coaster. The more you know, right? The more you know. And I had a good time with it. So yeah, this was Billionaire, Grumpy Sunshine. There is kind of a like sex deal with them that they make, that they're going to have uncomplicated sex. For a certain period of time, and of course it leads to more. Yeah, so this was a good time. I had this from Must Love Audio. This was a new to me author. You guys know I'm always hunting those down. I ended up giving this a 4-star. The conflict, you know, we saw it coming from a mile away, and there just wasn't anything super unique about the story. But it was still a good time, and it was a 3 on the spice scale, and I definitely think you would have a pleasant time with it, whether you read this one or you listen to it. Okay, next up, I read Twisted Deeds by Milla Vane. This is book 3 in the Hellions of Hade Harbor. And yeah, this is not my favorite in the series. It actually was kind of annoying to me. This one is Winter. She's a rich girl, and there's Asher, who he is the twin brother of the heroine from book 2. He was actually away for a semester, going to like a different school to like play hockey or whatever, or was it, I don't remember. Anyway, he was gone because the heroine stayed in his dorm in the previous book. That's how her and her partner got together. But in this one, Asher, you know, he's a boy from the wrong side of the tracks. He's very poor. And our heroine is very rich, and they actually, you know, they know each other from their younger days. And she actually gets him fired from one of his jobs, and she's just a total bitch about it and gets him fired. And she's actually, you know, he wants to torture her for getting him fired. Spoiled little rich girl. And then she actually is being put in a position where her father, who is nice, like this is weird because like her father is a nice man, but he is in kind of a sticky situation, and he may need to kind of push her into a relationship with this absolute asshole. And so she decides to pretend that she already has a boyfriend so that she can't be forced to date this man. So she ends up wrangling Asher into it because she offers to pay him to be her boyfriend, because she's like, well, I made him lose his job. I could offer him payment this way. And he is just like, no, I'm not going to do you a favor. I'm not going to take your charity. And she's like, but it's my fault you lost the job. So she's just very like in her head about this. So he says no, but she decides to kind of force his hand. So she starts showing up in places and like hanging on him or sitting in his lap in public and trying to do these things to like force him to look like her boyfriend. And I just was not liking that in the first half of this book. And I was like, I don't know if I'm liking this, you know. And then it also has the other aspects of a bully romance where, you know, the way that Millicane writes these, where, or Millicane. It's Millicane. Why did I write Millicane? That is a completely different author. Trying to, like force his hand, and he's pushing back. So they just have this going back and forth, and I just didn't care for it. Then I went and looked at the reviews of what some people were saying to just kind of see what people were liking about it, because it just wasn't working for me. And so what I ended up seeing is some people were seeing it as almost like a comedy between the two of them, really kind of like fighting back and forth and putting them both in awkward situations, because she really does give as good as she gets, even though he does some pretty horrible things like she also does to him. And once I was kind of reading about that aspect, I was like, you know, that makes a little more sense. So that did help me open my mind to it a little bit, but I just didn't care for this couple at all. And I really didn't care for the suspense element of this one. Again, it was super obvious what this asshole who wanted to date her, what he was up to. And she just makes dumb decision after dumb decision this whole book through. And so I was just annoyed by the end. I was mad because I read an arc of this one. And I want her to write her mafia books, okay? Like, I fell in love with her for the mafia ones. I didn't mind the books in this series, but now the reasons for them to be bullies are just getting dumber and dumber. I'm sorry. They're just stupider and stupider with each one. Why we're villains with each other. And so I would rather her get back to writing the mafia ones, which is what I fell in love with, and just like get over this. So I was a bit tough on this one because I was annoyed. I gave this one a 3.5. And it was a 4 on the spice scale. It was kinky. I mean, it had double con, public sex, degradation, knife play, primal play, and then there was also, for trigger warning, some kidnapping, non-consensual parts, and stalking. So be prepared for that. It wasn't my vibe. It wasn't my vibe, unfortunately. Okay, next, I reread The Secret by Julie Garwood. I annotated this for one of my patrons. They asked for this one. This was one that I read, I think originally I read it like 4 or 5 years ago now. And I really enjoyed this the first time. I've read 3 Julie Garwoods. 2 of them I absolutely love. One of them was not my vibe. It was Castles, by the way. I did not care for Castles. But I like The Secret and The Bride both a lot. Enjoy them so much. And the thing is, I still enjoyed this time around. This is about 2 best friends, Judith Hampton and Frances Margaret. Is that her name? Beep, beep, beep. Frances Catherine, and Judith. And they are in English girl and a Scottish girl, and they become friends, and they've been friends since they were very little. And Judith always promised Catherine, who Frances Catherine's mother died giving birth to her, and so did her like grandmother giving birth to her. So there's been like 2 generations of death in childbirth, which again isn't impossible to imagine because unfortunately that just happens at that time. And Frances Catherine asked that Judith would be there for her when she has a baby. And so Frances Catherine has gotten married and she's pregnant. And so she asked for her friend Judith to come be with her. And so Frances Catherine's brother-in-law, who's also the laird of their clan, his name is Ian, he and a few of his men go to collect Judith to bring her there to be there for the birth. And they're very certain she's going to say no. There's no way that this English woman is going to come and stay in Scottish lands to do this. But they don't know Judith. And they don't understand the bond that these 2 women have. And so when Ian shows up, he's like, just tell us no so that we can tell her you said no and we can go home. And she's like, I'm not going to say no. I'm prepared to do this. And so she does. And then she has to travel with Ian and his men to get back to Frances Catherine. And Ian is already falling for her along the way because there's just something so sassy and like special about her and how determined she is to be there for her friend. And it's really beautiful to see. It's just gives me all the warmth and fuzzies for sure. So this time around though, because I knew where it was going, this just felt a little bit unnecessarily long this time around. And like, I feel so bad saying that because this is one of my faves and I don't have bad things to say about it. I just ended up being quite bored this time around. But I still had lots of nice things to say for my friend who I annotated this for. But just for me, this one doesn't have quite the like halo around it that it used to for me. And it's just kind of like, okay, this was good. There was nothing bad about it. It is pretty good for a medieval romance. And I mean, I love a Highlander. I love a Scottish story. So there's nothing like horrible I have to say. I just also was kind of just like, meh about it. Right? So I had lowered this one to a 4-star in my rating. And it has like a 2 on the spice scale. There's some pretty romantic scenes too. Okay, then we actually had a DNF, and this was Lies That Bleed by Leah Stone. This is one of the arcs that I got from NerdFam. This one was just an e-arc that I was sent, and I'm glad that I was sent an e-arc and not a physical copy because I did not really care for this at all. Obviously, I DNF'd it. It has a lot of great, what's it called, keywords and comparisons. Like it's compared to Hunger Games meets Divergent meets Fourth Wing. And it does have those aspects, but also the writing style and also the choice of setting was just very odd to me. It has a little bit of that kind of sort of a dystopian feel, but not completely, and that's kind of the like Divergent or Hunger Games aspect. And then we have our heroine who's a daughter of the emperor, and we have also this magic element where people there bond with creatures from the wild. It's just called the wild. And every year there is a group of young people chosen to go into the wild and try to bond with a creature and come out of the wilds with a creature. So I'm going to call this a familiar because that's kind of what it is you'll bond with the animal and then you get magic from them, and they also will amplify whatever magic you have, and that's how you'll be familiars, okay? I didn't get far enough in to see that happen, so I'm not critiquing for how that will work. But like her parent is like paired with, like, who is her dad paired with now? I can't recall if he was a big cat or what he was paired with, but obviously the bigger the creature you're paired with, the more prestige. So our heroine, whose name is Aisling, she's supposed to try to pair with the most strongest animal in there because she will be the heir to the throne. And so if you are a child of like the royalty, you basically have to go in, but everyone else, it's a lottery system of who will get chosen. You only have so many years of your youngest, that you will get picked for it. Again, a little bit like the Hunger Games type thing, except with this, most people want to go in, right? Because you can get a better job if you're paired with a good creature, as well as, you know, it's just more security and safety too. So this isn't quite with Hunger Games where you would be fearful of going in, but it is very dangerous still. So most people really train for it and prepare, which is what our heroine has done all her life. She's been prepared to go in. What happens that's very sad though, which is the start of it, is she has a best friend who actually has a disability. She has like a club foot, a lame foot. And so if she goes in to the wilds, she could be picked off by a weaker creature. She could be picked off by a stronger, not by a weaker creature. She'll be seen as weaker, and the creatures could try to pick her off, or the other like contestants could try to pick her off, because murder is allowed when you're within the wilds. You can kill anyone you want. There is no retaliation if you do. So it's not that you need to kill the other people. Again, not like the Hunger Games where only so many can come out. If everybody went in and everybody found a creature, everybody could come out. They just most likely won't. Okay. So anyway, I'm doing a lot of explaining for what happens, but so her friend ends up getting picked. And then also this guy named Cohen, who, the way that it sounds like his people are kind of seen as like traitors and terrorists is how it was labeled. And he's the son of one of the, like, you know, rebel rousers or whatever. And so he's put into this game arena, the wilds, whatever. And it's very clear that he's going to be tried to be taken out, you know, and him going in there, if he's not going to be the strongest, he is going to die probably. And so, yeah, that is kind of where we're at. And obviously our heroine goes in, her friend gets picked. So what I admired about the heroine is she was immediately like, I need to find a way to protect my friend. I need to make alliances that will help me do that. And, you know, she has a good strategy. She has strength. She's been trained for this. Her friend almost has no hope without her because she can't fight at all. And Cohen, he has friends and family who are getting put in as well. And so he makes kind of like a deal with the heroine to take some of his friends as alliances, and they'll kind of like work together. That's about as far as I got. Okay, sounds interesting, right? All that sounds good. But the things that were weird about this, I was unsure, as I said, whether this was dystopian. It doesn't feel fully fantasy. There was some technology that didn't make sense that it existed. There also just was like, the choice of writing was very modern in how they talk, which doesn't feel really dystopian or fantasy. And so trying to put together this setting and what was happening just like was not working. And I have a lot of other fantasies and books to read between June and July. You know, I have Gilded Wicked Mirrors, I have The Mist Thief, I have the Embered Realms, whatever. And I would rather just put this one aside and move on. Also because this author doesn't have many books out, and I didn't want to trash her book, which is where it was going for me. So obviously I only got 20% into this book, but I did DNF this one, and so I'm not recommending it, but I also can't recommend it. I moved on before I could get any more frustrated or before I could see any more. It was just time to move along. All right, then another ARC/ALC that I finished was Hold Me Until Morning by A.L. Jackson. This one comes out now on July 1st, so it'll be out on Monday, actually. And this will be the fourth and I believe the final book in the Time River series. I don't have my physical copy yet, but I should be getting it soon. I might even get it today yet. We'll see. But A.L. Jackson these books are absolutely beautiful in this series. And this one has a plus size heroine. She's a single mom because that's all A.L. Jackson writes. That's the joke, is she writes single moms. And this one was narrated by Stephen Dexter and Aaron Mallon. I was very excited. I love Stephen Dexter. He narrates the Choosing Theo, the Clicanian books. I love his so much. And then this cover model was actually, apparently she is a TikToker / like influencer, and A.L. Jackson just pictured her as being the heroine. And so she was asked to be the cover model for this, which is great. I just love it. Oh, the light's coming for me. So anyway, this one is about Haley and Cody. Haley is coming back to town after leaving her husband. They are still married, but she's working on a divorce with him. Her father owns one of the biggest ranches in the area, but Haley actually gets a job on a resort that's going in, and she's going to be the stable manager for this resort. Cody is a contractor and like he's a contractor and like work around that. And his business actually got the bid for redoing a bunch of stuff at this resort. So they're both going to be basically working with each other because he's going to be working on updates in the stables in the area. And they actually knew each other when they were young. He used to actually work for her dad when they were young. And things went sour between them. That's all we know. She moved out of town. She got married to someone else, had a daughter, and now she's back because things went bad with her husband. And her father doesn't want her to leave her husband. He's very wealthy. But he just isn't. He's an abusive man. And so she's back. She's actually living with her grandmother, her dad's mom. Her grandma's name is Lolly. The little girl is adorable. And Cody is actually her next door neighbor. So not only do they work together, he's her next door neighbor. He thinks she's gorgeous. He's happy to have her back. There's reasons why they couldn't be together when they were young that we're going to see. And yeah. So there we go. Of course, this does have a suspense element, as a lot of small town romance do, and also all of A.L. Jackson's have that. And there were a lot of things to love. A couple things that bothered me. Number one, I actually talked about this in the butt stuff video that I just put out. All of A.L. Jackson's heroes immediately notice the tits and ass of their heroines. It is like the first thoughts in their head is their dick getting hard when they see her lush tits in her tank top. Like, the amount of time that he thinks about her generous tits drove me up a wall, guys. I'm sorry. It isn't that big of a deal, but when that is the one explanation he has for a woman over and over and over again, it makes any guy seem like a dog, okay? It makes the most Prince Charming there ever is feel like a dog when that's all he thinks about. So the story itself was really good. Cody is amazing with her daughter. I love how she writes single parents. I love how once we get past his initial like attraction for her, he thinks only wonderful things about her. He loves her. And I love that he's attracted to her. I'll say this every time. I love that he's attracted to her. He thinks she's beautiful. He loves every inch of her. Like, that's great. But I want other ways to have it worded. You know, A.L. Jackson does such romantic language. It's one of the things that either makes or breaks her books for you, okay? It will make or break it for you how she chooses to tell a story. So why do we fall back to tits? You know, she has all these beautiful ways to speak. Why do we fall back to he noticed her tits? It just doesn't compute with me, because if you've read an A.L. Jackson, you know she has very romantic language, sweeping stuff. Like, it's beautiful. But those things just trip me up, because I'm like, it's like a sour spot or a fly on top of the pie that looks so good, but you're like, ew, but this one thing ruins a lot of it for me. So the story was still very good. But honestly, listening to it was kind of difficult. So I had an ALC and an ARC, and I ended up switching to the ARC because I was just tired of hearing Stephen Dexter say tits. Like, honestly, I should not be sick of hearing him say that, and I was. So I switched to reading it with my eyes, and that was a bit better, which was a shame because the ALC is so good, but I had to switch. So I ended up giving this one a 4. Again, the suspense element was mostly predictable. Of course, I mean, come on, you know it's going to be the ex-husband's going to be trouble. But there was an aspect that was a surprise. Did it surprise me? Yes. Did it make sense in the context of them? I don't know. I don't know if it did. You can decide. But this series is now finished. These books are all absolutely gorgeous. And A.L. Jackson is one of the sweetest ladies ever. So it's like she puts so much into her stories. They're so lovely. But yeah, I just don't know if I can continue to read them because I get spoiled by that. I'm like, dude, stop noticing her jugs all the time. Like, notice something else, you know? Okay. We're on the last one. Like I said, there wasn't a ton for this week. Quite a few of them were quicker ones, but I was on a mini road trip yesterday with my sister. We had to go from where we live back home in Pillager to Sioux Falls, South Dakota, and back. We're on the road for like 14 hours total. And I asked her before we went if she wanted to listen to one of our favorite books together so that, you know, we could listen to a book together. But it's also one we've read before, so if we get distracted, it was okay. And she said, hell yeah, let's do it. And so we listened to Illuminae, book 1 in the Illuminae files. Y'all know how much I love this. This is the third or fourth time I've read this series while still having my channel. The last time was in December of 2022, so it hasn't even been 2 years, but I adore this series. This is a YA sci-fi series, which has a full cast audio with some voices you'll definitely recognize, especially in book 2. I probably will continue with these. I can't do it right now, but I probably will continue. But especially book 2 has 3 or 4 romance narrators. Like, you'll recognize them even though they have different names that they go by. But this one is written by Jay Kristoff and Amy Kaufman, and it is about this illegal mining colony called Carenza, and they get attacked by a company that kind of wants to make away with the stuff that's being mined there, and they want to kind of rob it and take over and like kill everyone who's there so that they can't tattle on them, basically. And so they get attacked. But luckily at the time there happened to be some ships around that are protecting the colony. And so when they get attacked by these enemy ships, this big ship, the Alexander, is able to fight them off. And a lot of the people who are on the town are able to make it into escape pods and get up to the Alexander. And so there's the Alexander and the Hypatia and another one, and they're able to, the Copernicus, and they're able to take off from there. Now, our people on the ground here, there is Katie and Ezra, who that day that this happens, they are 17. Ezra's about to turn 18. He turns 18 in this book, but they are 17-year-olds. They've been dating for a few years, and they actually break up on the day that this planet gets attacked. And it's really sad for them. And so Katie had actually like skipped out of school because she didn't want to have to like look at him and see him after they broke up. And everything happens. And so they actually like help each other get out of there. And they end up on separate ships. So she ends up on the Hypatia and he's on the Alexander, and they are trying to run as fast as they can to the way station Heimdall, which has a jump gate, which I love this piece. You know, if you've seen the Marvel movies, you know that Heimdall in Thor is the one who mans the rainbow bridge, basically, that allows people to travel to Earth and everything. And if they get to the jump gate Heimdall, they'll be able to, you know, do hyperspeed and get back to the main part of the galaxy where they can tell what happened. And so this, I think Biotech or Zyrtec, what's their name? Baytech. They are the ones who did the attacking. And so they have this big ship, the Lincoln, that is chasing after them and getting ever closer because the Alexander is a wounded ship. And the Hypatia is just a small ship anyway, so it can't really defend itself. And so the Lincoln, with all of its power, is chasing after them and trying to catch them before they make it to this, okay? So that's a whole lot of setup to happen for this. But there's even something worse, because when Baytech attacked, they didn't just attack with normal weapons. They attacked with bioweapons. And so on the Copernicus, there are people who were affected with this bioweapon, and we don't fully know yet what this weapon is doing. And so this becomes a bit of a plague story at the same time. So this book is wild. It's so good. The audiobook is out of this world. If you read the physical book, I highly recommend you also have the audio, because the reason this is called the Illuminae files is that it is a stack of papers and files and voice recordings and pictures. Like, these are all people who like died in one of the things. There are space battles. Let me find one of the, there are space battles going on. And the way that they're read is this is a live action story. And there is a homicidal AI named Aiden who thinks that he knows best for the people. And so these files are being compiled because if they survive, they need proof to share with the galaxy about what Baytech is doing. So every once in a while, I love bringing this book out and just gushing about it because I just think it is so well told. It will seem so confusing when you start. It really will. That's why I suggest you have the audio and you follow along, because if you just tried to read this, honestly, I don't think you have a prayer of enjoying it to its fullest. Not that you're dumb or that you couldn't. I just think this is meant to be listened to. It's meant to be enjoyed that way. So the Illuminae is the first one, and then there is Gemina and Obsidio are the 3 in the series. And again, I probably will continue them. I can't do it right now. I have too many other things to do. But this is a 5-star, 6-star book for me. I love it. And it does have a little bit of a romance. Each book does have a bit of a romance in it. It is YA focused, so there's nothing overly spicy. But Katie and Ezra, they, like I said, they're on different ships. They end up being the ones who are going to help figure out the mystery and what's going on. And we'll see how it connects later on, because Katie's mom is a scientist, and so she gets roped into helping with the pathogen. And Katie's dad actually works on the way station Heimdall. And so he doesn't fully know all the things that have happened yet. So we'll meet Katie's dad in another book. We'll meet other people that are going to help us on this journey. We'll meet other enemies. And it's just fantastic. So if you don't need to have a full-on romance all the time, and you don't mind some like YA romance, I will always, always, always recommend this series. People ask me every now and then what my favorite audiobooks are. It's these. Okay? It's these. These 3 books in this series are my favorite audiobooks of all time. I've listened to them so many times. And when my sister wanted to listen to me, I was so happy because it was just the best. So there we go. As I said, this was a bit of a quicker one this week, and let me know what you guys are reading. I will have my monthly wrap-up coming for you on Tuesday. I have a Q&A that I'm actually just about to film. I haven't done a Q&A in forever, so we're going to go through that. And then I will have some type of recommendation video coming too. I made a list of ones to do. So thank you so much for watching, friends. Thank you to those of you who support the channel in any way. Even just liking this video, commenting, it all helps out. And we will see you in the next one. Bye.